Welcome, I'm Rabbi Phil Bressler of Beit Am in Corvallis, Oregon, and this is the daily summary video for the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch Yomi Daily Halakha Learning Project, covering the passage from Siman 77 Seif 9 to Siman 77 Seif 15. You can find links to the Hebrew and English text of this passage and to the calendar of upcoming passages in this video's description. So continuing discussing Kiddush in Shabbat meals, if you were the one to recite the Kiddush, take a good hearty drink from that cup. It's good to share that Kiddush wine around with everyone. We do that at our table at home, but in most larger settings, everyone's going to get their own individual cup, and that is just fine. If you never ever touch wine, perhaps due to an allergy or to swearing off the stuff, obviously you don't have to drink it, but the preference would be that you're not the one making Kiddush on behalf of everyone. You can still say Amen and rely on others to do the wine drinking for you, though. Normally, the after-meal bracha is different, depending on what kinds of foods were eaten during the meal. Since the challah is part of the Shabbat meal, you're always going to say Birkat Hamazon afterwards. And apparently there's some question about whether the Kiddush wine is part of that meal or not, and therefore whether it requires its own independent after bracha or not. But I've never actually encountered anyone who actually does that. In a similar vein, if you continue drinking wine through the meal, you don't need to say a separate bracha for it, as your Borei Pri Hagafen in Kiddush has already covered it. Now, relating to my anecdote previously about accidentally making Kiddush over wine that had gone bad, if you realize that what's in your Kiddush cup isn't what you thought it was, you may need to repeat the Kiddush, unless it's some kind of chamar medina like beer or hard cider, things like that. As I noted briefly yesterday, there's also a Kiddush for Shabbat in the daytime. It's much shorter though, just a short intro. Al Kein Beirach Adonai et Yom HaShabbat Vayikadeshehu. Therefore, God blessed the Sabbath day and sanctified it, and then right into Borei Pri Hagafen. In theory, this both happens after services, and you're not supposed to eat or drink on Shabbat morning beforehand. In practice, though, I know few people who skip breakfast entirely, given that Shabbat services in the synagogue are also often quite long, concluding past noon. However, I do recall actually at Camp Ramah, the older post-B'nai mitzvah units would begin their services before breakfast and then take a break, I think between the Amidah of Shacharit and the Torah service, to go and eat and then come back and complete Torah reading and Musaf, which I think is a very elegant solution. Now, ideally, daytime Kiddush is also said over wine, but as noted, it can also be done over chamar medina as well. This is an important line, Ein Kiddush ela bimkom seudah. So Kiddush should only happen along with a meal. This has some implications for the Kiddush commonly made in synagogue on Friday nights. Kiddush in synagogue usually following right after services serves as a kind of catch-all for folks who might not have had the opportunity to make Kiddush at home. It's important that there be at least some challah to go along with the wine that constitutes, a simple but, real meal. The two should always come as a pair. Touching back finally on eating after shacharit but before mutzaf, the Kitzur says you're allowed to taste something. Bread is restricted in terms of the amount you can eat, but actually it says fruit and presumably other kind of breakfasty foods are not. You can have them and eat as much as you like, as much as you need to get through services. That's all for today. As always, our learning is dedicated to Rabbi Shlomo Gansfried, the author of the Kitzur, and the historic Jewish community of Uzhhorod, Ukraine. See you tomorrow.